Every night, before your body surrenders to rest, your spirit enters a doorway. Sleep is not just a pause from daily life. It is a journey into unseen realms. And the state in which you enter that journey decides whether you wake renewed or whether you wake drained. Few people realize that one of the simplest yet most powerful protections against witchcraft, curses, and restless spirits lies in something humble, something most overlook: the washing of your feet before bed. The feet carry more than the weight of your body. They carry the imprints of everywhere you have walked, every atmosphere you have entered, every energy you have crossed. Dust, dirt, and unseen vibrations cling to them, following you from market to street, from workplace to temple, from stranger's home back to your own sanctuary. To step into your bed without cleansing them is to invite all of those energies into your most vulnerable hours of sleep. Washing your feet is more than hygiene. It is the symbolic act of releasing the day, wiping away the residues of negative encounters, and cutting off any spiritual cords that may have been attached to you without your awareness. In ancient traditions across cultures, this practice was never neglected. Monks washed before meditation. Disciples washed before entering sacred spaces. Families washed before sleep, knowing the night was when spirits roam and when witchcraft attempts to bind the unguarded. As the water flows over your feet, it is not only cleansing the physical. It is carrying away envy, curses, hexes, and whispers that may have settled upon you during the day. The act of washing cools the heat of restless energy, grounding your spirit so that when you lie down, your body rests, your mind quiets, and your soul is protected. A simple bowl of water becomes a shield, a silent ritual that breaks chains without requiring elaborate ceremonies. The secret lies not only in the act, but in the awareness with which it is performed. When you wash with intention, each drop of water becomes a force of purification. When you breathe deeply and release the day with each rinse, the water does more than clean, it transforms. The bed then becomes a place of renewal rather than a battlefield of unseen attacks. And when you rise in the morning, you rise unbound, lighter, and free from the influences that sought to trouble you in the night. From the moment you step out of your home, your feet become silent witnesses to every place you go and every energy you encounter. They are the first point of contact with the ground beneath you, the foundation that carries your entire being through the world. What most people fail to recognize is that the feet do not only collect physical dust or dirt, they also absorb the unseen imprints of the environments you pass through. Every space has an atmosphere, every street carries its history, every building holds the residue of emotions, and your feet are the conduits that silently pick up and carry these imprints back with you. When you walk into a place of conflict, where arguments have recently erupted, or where suffering has lingered for years, the vibration of that place does not vanish once you leave. It clings to you. The most vulnerable point of entry is the feet, because they are in constant contact with the surface that carries all of those energies. Imagine the ground like a sponge that absorbs joy, sorrow, anger, or despair from the countless people who have walked upon it. Each step you take is an exchange, and though you may not see it, an energetic residue begins to build upon you. Markets are filled with noise, competition, and envy. Workplaces carry stress, ambition, and unspoken rivalries. Hospitals are saturated with fear, sickness, and grief. Temples may hold peace, but they also carry the desperate prayers of those who entered with burdens. Even the streets you walk daily are layered with stories of those who have walked before you. All of these unseen threads attach themselves subtly, and the feet are like nets collecting them. By the end of the day, you are not only carrying your own weight, you are carrying the invisible burdens of others. These attachments often go unnoticed, but their influence is real. You return home feeling heavier than when you left, not only because of fatigue, but because you have accumulated energy that does not belong to you. You may notice a sudden irritability without cause, or a restlessness that makes sleep difficult. Sometimes, strange dreams appear, or a sense of oppression lingers even in your own safe space. These are not coincidences. They are signs that your spirit is weighed down by vibrations picked up along the way. Ancient cultures understood this truth deeply. That is why the washing of feet was treated as sacred, not merely hygienic. To cleanse the feet was to cleanse the journey, to release the energy of the road, and to symbolically separate yourself from the influences of the outside world. Without this act, the home and the bed become extensions of the streets, carrying within them the noise, envy, or darkness that you encountered during the day. Think of your feet as doors. Through them, energy enters and exits. If those doors are left unguarded and uncleansed, they become entry points for witchcraft, curses, and spiritual interference. A practitioner of negative energy does not always need to confront you directly. Sometimes all they require is an opening, a residue already clinging to you, to send their intention deeper. Your feet, carrying the imprints of your daily path, can become that opening if they are not purified. You may also notice that when your feet are heavy, your entire body feels unbalanced. This is not only physical tiredness. In many traditions, the feet are connected with grounding, the link between your spirit and the earth. When they are burdened with energetic residue, you lose stability. Your mind feels scattered, your emotions swing easily, and your sense of protection weakens. What should be your firm foundation becomes shaky ground, and in this state, you are more vulnerable to spiritual disturbances. Consider the symbolism of dust. In the physical sense, dust is harmless and inevitable, but when carried into sacred spaces, it is considered unclean. In the spiritual sense, the dust of the day represents all the invisible imprints you have gathered from others. When this dust is not washed away, it accumulates layer upon layer, dulling your spirit just as physical dust dulls the shine of a surface. Your natural radiance becomes dimmed, your intuition becomes less sharp, and your dreams become entangled with energies that are not your own. The accumulation of these residues also creates a barrier between you and the blessings that flow naturally in life. Just as muddy shoes cannot receive the reflection of light, a spirit weighed down by residue cannot easily receive clarity, protection, or abundance. The very act of walking through the world makes the feet collectors, but without washing, they remain carriers of what was never meant for you. Over time, this quiet burden can grow into cycles of misfortune, unexplained illnesses, or repeated conflict, because you are constantly dragging yesterday's imprints into today. It is also important to recognize that your feet carry not only the energy of places, but also the energy of people. Every step you take leaves an impression, and every impression you step into can connect you to the emotions or intentions of others. In crowded places, this exchange is magnified. You may feel drained after a day in the city, not because of the physical walking alone, but because of the countless subtle exchanges made through your feet. If someone carrying envy, resentment, or bitterness has walked before you, the trace of that emotion lingers in the ground, waiting to be picked up. Animals in nature instinctively cleanse themselves after walking or being touched by others. Birds clean their feathers, cats wash their paws, and even wild creatures know the importance of removing residue. Humans, in forgetting this natural wisdom, have left themselves more exposed to energies that latch on silently. By neglecting to wash the feet, you neglect the very boundary that separates your personal energy from the collective energy of the world. This is why so many spiritual practices emphasize purification at the threshold of the night. Sleep is a vulnerable time when your body is still. Your conscious mind rests and your spirit drifts into unseen realms. If you enter sleep with residue still clinging to your feet, you carry with you all the burdens of the day into those subtle dimensions. The dreams become distorted, the spirit cannot rest fully, and your energy becomes entangled in threads that do not belong to you. What could have been a night of renewal becomes a night of interference. By understanding the role of the feet as collectors of energy, you begin to see why they are so often referenced in sacred texts, rituals, and teachings. Washing the feet before entering a home, before prayer, or before bed was never only about cleanliness. It was about honoring the path walked, acknowledging the energy gathered, and choosing not to carry it any further. It was a declaration that the day is complete and that the night should not be contaminated by the residue of the world outside. When this truth is ignored, the feet continue to act as magnets, gathering more and more until the spirit feels burdened and the body feels heavy. But when it is respected, the feet become channels of release. They no longer store what they collect. Instead, they let it go. Water becomes the ally, carrying away what is unseen just as easily as it carries away what is visible. The simple act of cleansing the feet is therefore a profound act of protection, a shield against witchcraft, envy, and all forms of interference that seek to attach themselves to you in the quiet hours of the night. There are practices so simple that their power often goes unnoticed, and washing the feet before bed is one of them. What appears to be an ordinary act of hygiene carries within it a depth of meaning that extends into the unseen realms. To wash the feet at the end of the day is not only about comfort or cleanliness. It is a sacred ritual of purification that has been quietly honored across countless traditions. It is the act that breaks chains of witchcraft, dissolves the grip of envy, and frees you from the invisible cords that attempt to follow you into your sleep. When someone directs witchcraft toward you, they do not always need physical contact. Often, the attack comes through the energetic residue that you have unknowingly carried with you. The envy of a colleague, the bitterness of a neighbor, or the ill will of a stranger you passed on the street can all attach themselves subtly during the day. These attachments settle like dust upon your energy field, and if they are not removed, they gain strength in the vulnerable hours of the night. Washing the feet before bed interrupts this process. It acts as a barrier, stripping away what was never yours to carry and dissolving the energetic pathways that could otherwise allow those forces to enter deeper into your being. Water itself has always been seen as sacred in its power to cleanse not just the body, but also the spirit. It carries memory, it responds to intention, and it washes away what cannot be seen by the eye. When your feet are washed in water before bed, you are symbolically washing away every curse, every whisper of envy, and every unseen hook that tried to latch onto you throughout the day. The water flows downward, taking with it everything heavy, everything dark, everything foreign. In this way, the act becomes more than a gesture of comfort. It becomes an unspoken prayer of release and renewal. Consider how curses and negative energies thrive on attachment. They seek an anchor, a foothold, a way to remain connected. The residue gathered through your daily steps is often the easiest anchor they can find. By washing the feet, you deny them this anchor. You remove their grip before it can tighten. What could have grown into restless sleep, nightmares, or even physical illness is cut off at its roots by this simple act of purification. You step into your bed no longer carrying the day's chains, but free, light, and unbound. Envy is one of the most common forms of hidden witchcraft. Few people will admit it, but many radiate it unconsciously. A glance, a word, a thought can all carry the vibration of envy, and those vibrations seek attachment. Your feet, having carried you through countless eyes and encounters, can bring that envy home with you. It sits like a shadow, waiting for the stillness of night to seep deeper. Washing the feet breaks this process instantly. As the water touches the skin, envy loses its place to rest. It slides away, leaving you untouched. What others wished upon you, what others resented in you, what others whispered against you is dissolved and carried away by the current of water. This ritual has been preserved in many spiritual paths, not as superstition, but as wisdom. In sacred texts and ancient teachings, you find the emphasis on washing before entering prayer, before stepping into holy places, and before resting at night. The understanding was always clear: impurity is not only physical, it is energetic. To carry the dust of the street, the heaviness of others, and the shadows of curses into a sacred space is to contaminate that space. In the same way, to carry them into your bed is to contaminate your sleep, the most sacred space of renewal. Washing the feet before bed was the shield that ensured the night remained free from intrusion. The act itself is humble, and yet it is precisely in humility that its strength lies. Witchcraft often thrives on the unnoticed, the subtle, the overlooked. It hides in places where people pay no attention. Washing the feet brings awareness to a part of the body most neglect, and in doing so, it cuts off an entire channel through which negativity flows. This awareness itself is power, because once you recognize the entry points, you can protect them. Each rinse becomes a conscious act of declaring, "This energy is not mine, and I release it." That declaration is heard not only in your mind, but in the spiritual realm, where chains are broken without a sound. When you turn this act into a nightly rhythm, its power compounds. Just as dust cannot settle in a house that is cleaned daily, curses and envy cannot settle in a spirit that is purified nightly. The attacks may still be sent, but they find no place to root themselves. They fall away as quickly as they arrive, unable to cross the threshold of your sleep. Over time, the very aura around you strengthens. What was once vulnerable becomes fortified, because consistency in purification builds an atmosphere that is naturally resistant to intrusion. Some may think that only elaborate rituals can break witchcraft, that only long prayers or complex ceremonies hold power. But it is often the simplest acts, done with sincerity, that hold the greatest strength. Washing the feet is one such act. It requires no special tools, no chants, no external guidance. All it requires is water, awareness, and intention. In its simplicity lies its universality, accessible to anyone who wishes to protect themselves. And because it is simple, it is consistent. And because it is consistent, it is powerful. The transformation is felt not only spiritually, but physically and emotionally as well. Those who adopt this practice often find that their sleep becomes deeper, their dreams become clearer, and their mornings begin lighter. The anxiety that once followed them into the night begins to fade. The heaviness in the body diminishes. The strange cycles of conflict or bad luck that seem to repeat begin to lose their grip. All of this begins with the act of not carrying the day's residue into the night. Even the ancestors recognized the symbolic weight of the feet. They saw the feet as the carriers of destiny, the parts of the body that determine the path one walks in life. To neglect them was to neglect the path, to leave it vulnerable to forces that wished to divert it. By cleansing them each night, they honored the journey, ensured its protection, and aligned themselves once again with harmony. This was the hidden secret passed down quietly. Cleanse the feet, and you cleanse the path. Witchcraft often relies on the principle of contamination, inserting disturbance into the flow of your life until you are no longer walking with clarity. Washing the feet counters this principle directly. It restores flow where there was blockage, clarity where there was confusion, and purity where there was contamination. The curse cannot cling, the envy cannot settle, the spiritual hooks cannot dig deeper when the foundation has already been cleansed. The very weapon sent against you becomes useless because the anchor it sought has already been washed away. The true secret is not hidden in the water itself, but in the act of intentional release. The water is a vessel, but your awareness directs its power. When you dip your feet, when you let the water flow, when you breathe deeply and imagine the residue dissolving, you are not merely cleaning skin. You are commanding your spirit to let go, to detach, to free itself from what was never meant to remain. This inner command is what shatters the unseen chains and ensures that witchcraft, no matter how strong, cannot follow you into the sanctity of your rest. The human spirit, though unseen, is constantly influenced by forces that surround it. Some of these forces uplift, while others drain, distort, and weaken. The night is the time when such unseen forces often attempt to approach more boldly, because it is during sleep that the body becomes still and the conscious mind lets go of its guard. At this time, the individual is more vulnerable than during the waking hours. That is why traditions across the world have always emphasized rituals before sleep. For what you carry into the night determines the quality of your rest and the protection of your spirit. Among these, the simple act of washing the feet holds profound significance, for the water does not only cleanse but also shields, grounding the spirit and ensuring that the sleeper enters the night surrounded by protection rather than intrusion. The feet are not merely physical structures that support the body, they are symbolic conduits of energy. They touch the earth, absorb its vibrations, and connect you to every environment you step into. Over the course of a day, you walk through places of joy and places of sorrow, through spaces filled with harmony and others filled with conflict. Every surface, every interaction, every atmosphere leaves a subtle trace. These traces cling invisibly, often unnoticed, but they influence your state of being. If carried into sleep, they create openings for disturbances in the night, allowing witchcraft, envy, and restless spirits to act upon you with greater ease. Washing the feet before bed breaks this chain. The water becomes a barrier, a cleansing shield that resets the energy field around the body, ensuring that what is carried into sleep is pure and balanced. Water itself holds a timeless role as an agent of purification. From rivers used for ritual bathing to sacred wells and fountains, cultures have always understood that water does more than wash the body. It has the capacity to cleanse energy, dissolve negativity, and restore harmony. When the feet are washed with water, the act does more than remove physical dirt. It symbolically washes away the subtle dirt of the day. It cools the fiery residue of anger, dissolves the sticky threads of envy, and clears the stagnant heaviness of sorrow. Each drop of water carries away the attachments that could otherwise disturb the night. In this way, the water functions as a silent shield, surrounding the sleeper with protection that extends into the unseen. Grounding is another hidden benefit of this act. Throughout the day, the mind is pulled in countless directions. To worries, tasks, responsibilities, conversations, conflicts, and dreams. This scattering leaves the spirit unanchored, floating between distractions and unable to settle. Witchcraft and spiritual attacks thrive on this lack of grounding, for a scattered mind and restless energy make it easier to plant seeds of confusion and disturbance. Washing the feet before bed brings the spirit back into the body. The cool touch of water reminds you of presence. The sensation anchors you in the moment. And the ritual draws your awareness down to the foundation of your being. Once grounded, the spirit is harder to manipulate, harder to disturb, harder to reach. Nightmares are often the first sign that the spirit has entered the night without sufficient protection. Dreams filled with fear, confusion, or darkness can be more than random creations of the mind. They can be reflections of interference, attempts by unseen forces to weaken the sleeper through fear. Washing the feet shields against such interference. By removing the attachments of the day and grounding the spirit, the dream world becomes clearer, calmer, and less vulnerable to intrusion. Instead of being a battlefield of the subconscious, the night becomes a temple of renewal. The shield created by the water ensures that what enters the dream space is not chaos but clarity. Witchcraft relies heavily on finding vulnerable points of entry. These are the cracks in awareness, the neglected areas of life, the spaces left unguarded. The feet, being often overlooked, become one such entry point. Few people think of them beyond physical comfort. Yet they are the very part of the body that touches the world most directly. To neglect them is to leave a door open. Washing them before bed closes this door firmly. It is a silent declaration that no external force has permission to follow you into your rest. The shield formed by the water is not visible, but it is felt for the spirit's senses when it is protected. The result is not only safer sleep, but also deeper rest, because the body no longer wastes energy defending itself unconsciously against unseen attacks. When this act is done with awareness, its shielding power multiplies. Awareness directs intention, and intention is the true force behind all spiritual practices. If you wash your feet absent-mindedly, the shield is present but weak. If you wash them with conscious awareness, imagining the water dissolving every trace of negativity, imagining your spirit being grounded, imagining a shield rising around you, then the water becomes more than water. It becomes a tool of protection, an extension of your will, a force that commands safety through the night. The act itself remains simple, but the energy behind it becomes immense. It is also worth considering how the body and spirit mirror each other. Just as stagnant water attracts decay, stagnant energy attracts intrusion. Washing the feet refreshes the circulation of both the physical body and the energetic body. It restores flow where there was stagnation, balance where there was disruption. When energy flows smoothly, there is little room for curses or spiritual attacks to cling. The shield is not only external but internal, because balance itself is protection. A spirit in harmony repels disturbance naturally, just as a strong immune system repels illness. The shield created through this act is not aggressive. It does not fight or struggle. It simply creates an atmosphere where negativity cannot thrive, just as darkness cannot exist where there is light. Witchcraft cannot settle where there is balance. Washing the feet brings this balance. The cool water soothes the heat of the day. The act of cleansing removes residue, and the grounded awareness aligns the spirit. The result is a field of energy that is whole, calm, and impenetrable. Forces that approach during the night find no entry, because the shield has already been established through the ritual. Across cultures, this understanding has always been present, though expressed in different forms. In some traditions, washing before bed was considered mandatory, not for cleanliness alone, but for protection. In others, rituals involving the feet were linked to humility, service, and renewal, all of which contribute to a balanced spirit. The common thread is the recognition that the feet are a gateway, and to guard this gateway is to guard the whole being. Washing the feet before bed is not a superstition, but a wisdom that has endured because it works, because it shields, because it restores. Those who adopt this practice often notice changes beyond their nights of sleep. The mind becomes clearer during the day. The heart feels lighter, and conflicts seem to lose their intensity. This is because protection during the night influences strength during the day. When the spirit is shielded during its most vulnerable hours, it wakes fortified, less susceptible to manipulation, less likely to carry forward the residue of darkness. The shield created at night extends into the day, forming a cycle of balance and protection that grows stronger with consistency. Thus, what appears to be a small act is in truth a profound shield. Each evening, the water flows not only over skin, but through energy, cleansing, grounding, and protecting. Each evening, the shield is renewed, and each night, the spirit rests safely within it. When understood in this way, washing the feet before bed becomes more than a habit. It becomes a sacred ritual, a daily renewal of protection, and a constant reminder that even the simplest actions hold immense power when performed with awareness and intention. The difference between a habit and a ritual lies not in the action itself, but in the awareness and intention carried within it. Washing your feet before bed could easily be dismissed as ordinary hygiene. Yet, when done with intention, it transforms into something far greater. A sacred act that restores balance, clears negative energy, and shields the sleeper from unseen interference. Intention is the invisible thread that turns a bowl of water into a vessel of protection, and turns a simple wash into a declaration of freedom from witchcraft, envy, and spiritual disturbance. Human beings often underestimate the power of intention because it is intangible, but intention directs energy, and energy shapes the invisible world. When you approach the act of washing your feet with awareness, you are not only moving water over skin, you are commanding the unseen forces around you. You are declaring silently, the residue of the day will not follow me into the night, envy will not cling, curses will not settle, and witchcraft will not enter. The water becomes an extension of that command, carrying away what does not belong to you, and sealing your spirit in a state of renewal. Without intention, the water cleans only the surface. With intention, it cleanses the soul. In many ancient cultures, rituals of purification were inseparable from intention. A river was not just a river, it was a living force that could absorb and dissolve impurity. A spring was not just water, it was renewal flowing from the earth itself. What made these rituals powerful was not merely the act of bathing, but the conscious awareness that one was releasing, cleansing, and preparing. Washing the feet before bed is no different. If approached as routine, it refreshes the body. If approached with awareness, it refreshes the entire being. The difference is subtle but profound, and it lies in the state of mind carried into the act. Intention has the power to shape reality because it aligns thought, word, and action. When you think of releasing negativity, when you silently affirm that curses have no place with you, and when you physically wash your feet, the alignment of all three levels magnifies the effect. This is why intention is described as the hidden engine behind rituals. It is not about superstition or blind repetition. It is about conscious alignment. The washing becomes a physical symbol of an inner truth. You are choosing to be free. You are choosing to be cleansed. You are choosing to be shielded. Every action performed with intention carries resonance. The simple gesture of rinsing your feet can ripple out into the unseen, just as a stone dropped in water creates waves far beyond its point of entry. The energy of your intention radiates through your aura, signaling clearly to unseen forces that you are not unguarded. Witchcraft thrives on unconsciousness, on people going through life unaware of the energies that surround them. Intention disrupts this unconsciousness. It brings light where there is darkness, awareness where there is neglect, clarity where there is confusion. Washing your feet with awareness turns what could be an open gateway into a fortified shield. It is also important to understand that intention is not something fragile. It is strengthened by repetition, deepened by sincerity, and amplified by focus. The more consistently you perform this act with awareness, the more powerful the shield becomes. Just as a wall is strengthened each time another stone is laid, so too does your protective shield grow with each night of intentional cleansing. Over time, the practice develops a momentum of its own. The very act of dipping your feet into water signals to your spirit, it is time to release. It is time to reset. It is time to be protected. The body learns, the mind learns, and the spirit responds, making the ritual stronger with each repetition. When you consider the symbolism of the feet, the importance of intention becomes even clearer. The feet are what carry you through life. They determine the paths you walk and the directions you take. To wash them without intention is to miss the opportunity to align your path with clarity and strength. To wash them with intention is to declare that your path will not be polluted by negativity, that your steps will not be guided by envy, that your direction will not be diverted by witchcraft. Intention transforms the wash into a declaration over your journey, ensuring that every step forward is free from the residue of darkness. The very state of mind you carry into sleep influences what unfolds in your dreams and how your spirit navigates the night. Entering sleep without intention leaves the mind scattered and the spirit exposed. Entering sleep with intention creates order, clarity, and protection. Washing the feet with awareness becomes the bridge into this protected state. It centers the mind, grounds the spirit, and sets the tone for the hours ahead. This is why intention is inseparable from the act. The water may cleanse the body, but it is the intention that directs the energy, shaping how the spirit will rest and how it will awaken. Even science acknowledges the power of intention, though expressed in different terms. Focused thought has been shown to influence emotion, health, and even physical outcomes. In spiritual language, this is the recognition that intention is energy. And energy moves in the direction it is directed. Washing your feet with the clear intention of releasing curses, dissolving envy, and restoring protection is not symbolic alone. It has an effect. The energy responds, the shield forms, and the night becomes safer. What many overlook as superstition is in truth a technology of the spirit, guided by the hidden force of intention. Consider the difference between pouring water mindlessly and pouring water while silently affirming that negativity is leaving you. In the first case, the water does its job physically. In the second case, the water becomes a vessel for your will, carrying away burdens into the unseen. This is the essence of spiritual practice, not the external act, but the inner state that fuels it. Washing the feet before bed is powerful, not because of water alone, but because water is receptive, because it carries memory, because it responds to the energy of intention. With intention, it does not merely clean, it transforms. The practice also cultivates mindfulness, which itself is a shield. When you pause each night to wash your feet with awareness, you are training your mind to slow down, to focus, to become present. This presence extends into sleep, making you less vulnerable to unconscious manipulation. Witchcraft thrives on distraction and restlessness. Mindfulness dismantles both. By turning the act into a conscious ritual, you anchor yourself in the present, strengthen your awareness, and carry this shield of presence into the night. In this way, intention not only protects, but also strengthens the foundation of your inner life. The subtle power of this act often reveals itself gradually. At first, you may feel simply refreshed. Over time, you may notice that your sleep becomes deeper, your dreams clearer, your mornings lighter. Conflicts that once lingered may begin to fade. Cycles of misfortune may weaken. What once felt like unseen resistance may dissolve. These are not coincidences, but the natural result of consistent purification performed with intention. The shield becomes stronger, and your path becomes clearer, because you are no longer carrying what does not belong to you into the most vulnerable hours of your life. This is why intention is inseparable from the practice. Without it, the wash is physical. With it, the wash is spiritual. Without it, the water refreshes. With it, the water protects. Without it, you sleep clean. With it, you sleep shielded. Intention is the hidden force that determines the difference. It is the secret ingredient that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, the unnoticed into the sacred, the vulnerable into the protected. And once understood, it transforms not only the way you wash your feet, but the way you approach every action in life. For every action can be ritual if performed with awareness, and every ritual can be a shield if performed with intention.